Hi, welcome back to Hydroponics Daily. Today we're going to talk about 5 non-essential elements that you still may... Hi, welcome back to Hydroponics Daily. Today we're talking about non-essential elements. These are elements that are not required for growth but could improve the growth of your plants. The first one is silicon. Silicon is added to feeds to improve cell wall strength. It's a bit like calcium, it improves the rigidity of a cell wall. Because silicon is in glass, it's in silica, and it forms insoluble silicon once it gets to the cells, and that's what gives it rigidity. And obviously, if you increase cell wall strength, you increase resistance to pests and diseases and abiotic stresses, environmental stresses, things like ozone or high light levels or very dry air. Silicon's really good at resisting those particular stresses. It can also form something called phytoliths, which sounds really scientific, but it just means phyto means plant and lith means rock. So little tiny beads of rock in the plant that make it unpalatable to anything that's going to try and eat it. Hopefully not humans though. So silicon is the only one of these 5 elements that's actually added routinely to feeds. Well, that I would recommend to be added routinely to feeds. Some people add others. So silicon for cell wall strength. Selenium is not required for plant growth. However, it is required for animal health. So in pasture, grasslands, it's often added, often linked to an amino acid, as I talked about in the previous episode, as a bioavailable source of selenium for cattle in particular, also sheep. They can get developmental brain disorders if they don't have enough selenium, and humans can as well. However, selenium is a toxic element if it's in high dose rates, so I would never advise adding it in a hydroponic situation because you could be in for a world of pain. And the same for cobalt. There are some reports that cobalt is useful for nitrogen metabolisms, urease enzymes. However, cobalt is a really nasty element and is carcinogenic in both its pure form, cobalt sulfate, and even when it's diluted to the ratios that some people say should be put on crops. There's already enough cobalt in the soil, more than enough for what you need, or in your growing media, in your water. Don't add cobalt. And it's just not required in any high concentrations. Same for vanadium and titanium. There are reports that if you add them to plants, you would get an increase in yield or growth. However, normally that's because they're substituting for iron, and these studies were done in very low nutrient levels or very high soil pHs. You're far better adding iron than you are titanium or vanadium because they are a poor substitute in all the enzymes that iron is required for by the plant. So don't think you need to be sort of like, dissolving up Robocop to get your titanium. You just add some iron. Iron's a wonderful underappreciated nutrient in hydroponics. And so these are 5. Of these, the only one I would add, the only one I ever recommend is silicon. And you can buy silicon additives. You have to be careful with silicon. It can raise the pH of your feed. So you do need to look at pH down if you're using a conventional fertilizer. If you're using gold leaf or in the UK, liquid iron, you don't need to worry about that because of the concentrations of silicon you add. This product will bring your pH down to the sweet spot instantaneously. So it draws it back to the sweet spot every time. So don't need to worry about that silicon addition. 5 non-essential elements. If you can think of any others, let me know. We've discarded carbon, oxygen, hydrogen because you get them from water and air. And then there's heavy metals, things like that, that are toxic. And then there's other elements that have no real impact, like fluorine and helium, things like that. So they're your non-essential elements. That's been Hydroponics Daily for today. Thank you.